I'm back writing at work because this shift is absolutely terrible and I'm so bored. All I want to do is blast K-pop for all the customers to hear, but I'd probably get fired for that. So instead, I've resorted to making content. So, things I miss in K-pop. Let's start. Who told boy groups to be identical? Because it sure as hell wasn't me, and I'm sick of the lack of diversity I'm getting these days. It's not even that all these groups have similar music, because that's more than forgivable. It's that these groups are the same, specifically the rookies. Tell me, what distinguishes Blanky and TNX? How about T149 and BAE173, EPEX and Just B, Omega X and TO1, Trends and Unite if the latter continues with the same stuff as Aviator, ATBO and Blitzers? It's ridiculous. We don't have this many groups that all feel the exact same. How many of these rookies have captured my attention this year? Only Blanky, but that's because their music feels like it's so bad that it's good. Other than that, there's nothing that separates these other groups since they're all accompanying the same corner of music, the evil side. That probably sounds like a weird statement, but the only music we're getting from boy groups is inherently evil. I heard the chorus of ATBO's debut before I heard the actual song, and when I tell you I was so incredibly disappointed. The chorus to that song is rather bright and poppy, but the rest of the song is a mess. Their debut is actually the reason this opinion spawned because you did not have to make the song so edgy. You could have kept it nice and poppy, but you didn't want to. It's a travesty because all these boy groups want to do is be edgy. You can't copy ATs, you can't copy old BTS, you can't copy Stray Kids, and as much as I adore their darker music, this also applies to enhypen and TXT. I prefer both of these groups to have darker concepts, but my point doesn't waver. You were doing something that we don't really see that much, yet you chose to blend in. And that's what so many boy groups do, choose to blend in. Since we're on the topic of boy groups, let's quickly emphasize the boy in that. Let's do that with girl groups as well, actually. Yeah, so now that we've emphasized those words, let me quickly remind these K-pop companies that those words were never meant to be taken literally. Boy and girl groups refer to the gender of the people in those groups, not to their ages. I want men groups and women groups if we're taking these labels so seriously. It's specifically the worst with girls, as we all know by now. New Jeans, Classy, Le Sserafim, IVE, Tribe, nmixx, I could most definitely keep going. When did turning 14 mean you have to work a full-time job, running on minimal hours of sleep with thousands of people judging you constantly? I'm still affected by the few teasing comments that were thrown at me when I was 14, so I can't imagine what it must feel like to have literal adults looking at these children and telling them they're too fat, or they're too ugly, or they can't do anything. These girls still haven't gone through puberty, and they're getting hounded by grown adults. And imagine when they do go through puberty, it'll genuinely be horrible. The people will be far more vocal about how sexy or hot or curvy these girls will become, but they will still be children. I recently found out that enhypen's Nikki is 16, which made me so shocked. This was while I was getting into enhypen as well, so I felt weird if I ever thought him attractive after the point that I found out. Jungwon, also enhypen, is ridiculously attractive to me, but I shouldn't have to make sure an idol is over 18 or in my age range to be able to say that. Seeing someone even a year younger than me, aka 17-year-olds, and calling them attractive feels like nonce behavior. So now I'm meant to sit here and say that these boys with baby fat are so attractive and sexy? It's vile. Having an idol that turns 18 while active is also extremely concerning because all the cretins will come out the woodworks as soon as the dreaded 18th birthday rolls around. It's not like they change so drastically overnight that it automatically makes it okay to find them attractive. They literally look the same as the day prior. Wonyoung turned 18 like a week ago, and she was sexualized enough as a minor, so I'm scared to see how much she's going to be sexualized as an of-age adult. Everyone's already said it, but when I was 14, I was worrying about what kind of backpack I wore to school and getting into petty dramas because I was mad my friends hung out without me. The industry is toxic enough as it stands, never mind exposing young and vulnerable children to this kind of thing. Relating this a little bit to my first point, I want more styles of music in K-pop. We had a hell of a lot of diversity a few years ago, so why is it such an issue nowadays? Some of my favourite types of songs are the sort of stuff that isn't even being touched with a 12-foot pole anymore. As much as I love aggressive and dark music, I miss having bright and pop sounds in K-pop too. And we have the whole pop punk, pop rock trend going on right now, and even though pop punk was the genre that got me into music as a whole and I can hate it, I want some fun party bangers as well. I honestly feel like I'm turning a lot more to B-sides for the diversity I desperately need, which I feel like I shouldn't have to do. The music that I'm currently wanting to listen to is the loud, wild, party sort of music, but I'm hearing none of that energy in title tracks. And don't anyone dare be telling me that it's summer and groups are making summer songs right now. This loud sort of music can be classed as summer music if you want it to be as well. Blackpink's Boombayah can be listened to in summer. MCND's Mood can be listened to in summer. Everglow's Pirate can be listened to in summer. And ONF's Goosebumps can be listened to in summer because these are all loud but energetic songs. And I know Mood, Pirate, and Goosebumps are recent songs, but I had to scroll through about 300 songs to find those three, and my playlist is filled with mostly newer stuff, so point proven. Same with the cuter songs. Where are they? And unlike my first point of the video, both types of groups fall into this section. Girl and boy groups seem to be nigh incapable of producing cute or fun loud music, and it's beginning to irritate me. These days I listen to Japanese music when I want to hear these styles of songs because K-pop doesn't offer that to me anymore unless it's in B-sides. And with B-sides I likely won't get promotions for it, a music video, or even just a single live performance. And then, on the off chance that a group decided to do a cute or fun loud song as a title track, it's almost always a hit or miss because it doesn't feel like there's been enough passion poured into it. Girl and boy groups, I will come for your throats if you don't give me some innocent or wilding songs by the end of the year. Please and thanks. So we all know the fourth generation is essentially all about dance, but it's getting annoyingly too much about dance. Don't get me wrong, dance is an essential part of K-pop, but what is even going on anymore? Do we remember just a few years ago when Blackpink released Do and everyone murdered them for having too easy dances? But would you look at that, it's extremely catchy and everyone knows it. Or how about Heart Shaker by Twice? Another simple dance, but it stands iconic and well known. And then Itzy debuted and it was never the same. Instead of being able to pick up a dance completely within an hour, now I spend multiple days attempting to piece this stuff together. I'm so over it. The only reason dances are going viral these days is because no one can do them, rather than because everyone can do them. TXT and No Rules, Nyan and Pop, ATEEZ and Gorilla, Twice and Talk That Talk, Stray Kids and Domino, Itzy and Wannabe, enhypen in every single one of their dances, and probably so many more to come. Why can I see a bucket load of sweat on these idols' foreheads when they're dancing, when it was never meant to be this serious? But obviously, this is the dance generation, and my lonely channel with my handful of views isn't going to change the whole way the industry is working. And since I mentioned them a second ago, let's talk about ITZY and their debut era again, because it was such a good time that we all took for granted. By their debut era, I'm referring to their first 3 releases, so that we're clear. Dalla Dalla, Icy, and Wannabe are still their best 3 title tracks, as are those B-sides that came with them. Well, actually, the Checkmate album was pretty darn amazing, but we're ignoring that to state why I miss debut ITZY. Because even if they had harder than average dances, they were still catchy and easy enough to learn without trying, because JYPE had a clear vision of what they wanted ITZY to be, because those title tracks didn't feel rushed, because the albums gave off an aura of cohesion, because the girls didn't receive nearly as much hate as they do nowadays, because I personally think they had better stylists, because every dance had something iconic about it, because Ryujin had pink hair. I don't know what happened with JYPE for the Not Shy era onwards, but they've never managed to capture the same sort of virality. Not to say that ITZY aren't popular, they most definitely are, but it's never really been the same for me. ITZY were basically one of my top groups before Not Shy era, and I'm still wondering where JYPE's vision for the group went. They literally dropped ITZY faster than they could say, think about what you're doing right now. Because seriously, that company really didn't think about what they were doing. And for the final section, we have yet another negative take on Stray Kids. Why another, you ask? Well, because in my last video, a lot of people seemed to take issue with what I had to say about Stray Kids, I can only presume, even though they're literally my alt and I would never wish anything bad upon them. But yeah, I know stays are overprotective of the boys and I understand it, because I am a stay and always will be. Stray Kids were literally the first group that made me confident enough to say that I am a part of a fandom. I listened to about 6 months of Blackpink and still didn't call myself a Blink, but I heard Miro by Stray Kids and assimilated myself almost instantly. And since Miro is literally one of the greatest and most timeless K-pop songs I've ever heard, I've been having trouble connecting as much with their music as I did before wjsn left. I Am Not was okay, but Mixtape 1 was literally one of their best songs. I Am Who still remains one of their most well-rounded albums. I Am You is something I often choose to overlook for the most part, but the Clay series is literally amazing, specifically Clay Levanter. Clay Levanter was the first album I ever heard where I liked every single song, which is a miracle honestly since I'm very fussy with the music I choose to listen to. And then comes the post-Woojin era. While I'm extremely happy that the boys are finding success with what they're doing right now, I can't lie and say I like as much music as I did prior. I counted 44 songs in their Woojin era, and I have been counting Levantera because they were meant to come back with Woojin before he left, and I would go out of my way to listen to 23 of those songs. That's around 52%, which may not seem like much, but it is for me since I'm very specific with the music I listen to. They have 57 in their post-Woojin era, and of those, I would go out of my way to listen to 22, aka 39%. And out of the 48% left over from the Woojin era, I'd say the majority of the songs are okay to listen to as well, and I can listen to them casually. But from the 61% in the post-Woojin era, I don't really enjoy that many even to listen to casually. I don't know what changed, or if anything did change, or if this was always going to be Stray Kids' trajectory. And as sad as it is, if Maxident is as big of a flop in my eyes as Ordinary was, I may have to demote Stray Kids from my alts to my secondary alts. We'll see in October, I guess, and I will be making a video on that. But yeah, after a bunch of sadness and reminiscing on older times in K-pop, I think I should begin working on a happier video. People don't watch the positive ones typically, but I think I need a little bit of happiness after 2 semi-negative videos in a row. I'll see you around.